Welcome back, fellow movie lovers. Today we recap the latest Amazon Prime movie, The Tomorrow War, featuring the talented Chris Pratt. So buckle up and beware of spoilers, and join us on our journey into the future to save mankind's very existence. The Tomorrow War starts with Dan Forrester, played by Chris Pratt, a former soldier, now science teacher, who's at home watching the final of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, when an anomaly interrupts Brazil's last-minute winning attack. The mesmerising anomaly spits out not aliens, but soldiers from 30 years in the future, bringing with them the devastating news that mankind is about to be wiped from existence, and only one thing can stop this from happening: it's the people of the present. It turns out we are the world's last hope. Through news reports, it's pointed out that only 50% of the military qualify to assist in the fight in the future, and because of this, a worldwide draft will be called, signing up civilians from all around the globe to jump into the future to assist the war. And though conscription only lasts for 7 days, less than 20% of those that jump will ever return from fighting the Whitespikes. While sleeping, Danny's woken by his daughter having a nightmare that her family will be drafted into the war. Oh, how right will she turn out to be? It turns out everyone is devastated that the world will, in less than 30 years, be destroyed. So, while teaching his class, Dan turns to his class for a discussion to talk about anything. No one wants to speak except for Martin, who loves talking about volcanoes. He knows everything about volcanoes. I wonder how this will affect things later in the movie. It's then Dan receives a message as he's about to be drafted. While being tested for his draft, this is done by strapping him to a machine and having him prodded and poked, Dan finds out that he is due to die in 7 years' time. And because his children have already been born, he is made eligible to be drafted. He then has a teleportation device pinned into his arm which will allow him to time jump to the future and back after his 7 days of conscription comes to an end, but only if he is still alive. From here, Dan returns home to break the devastating news to his family. If he tries to evade the draft, his wife or daughter will be forced to take his place. Still trying to keep his wife happy, he visits his estranged father, who himself has PTSD from Nam and abandoned his son when he was young. Though able to remove the device, he doesn't, and Dan is forced to return home to say his goodbyes to his family, his daughter the most, who he fears losing. At training, they are given 7 days to train in preparation, but are not allowed to see the enemy in which they are likely to face. But the good news, there is no rigorous training, and they can all basically wear whatever they want. It's here we meet a few new characters, from Charlie the quirky best friend who is not cut out for fighting, to Dorian who is about to jump and start his 3rd tour. But unfortunately, after less than 24 hours of basically no training at all, an alert comes through from the future to let everyone know the last research centre in Miami Beach is about to fall, and every soldier is needed. During the jump though, a malfunction happens and those that jump are dropped hundreds of feet in the sky. Luckily for Dan and 20 plus others, they land in a pool on top of a skyscraper. Don't worry, don't think too much about it and you will find yourself still enjoying it. Upon landing, the team is immediately contacted by a colonel who directs them on their mission to save her team of scientists. Dan leads the way through the destroyed streets, but when they arrive at the test lab, the team has been killed but their bodies are still there, meaning the Whitespikes are coming back. After collecting some test tubes, they head out. It's here they encounter their first Whitespike. After a tough encounter, they are to endeavour for pickup, but at the last second the convoy is attacked, leaving Dan and a small group to find their own way out of town. After several sacrifices, Dan, Charlie and Dorian manage to escape, but passing out before waking up at the command station. It's here Dan finds out why Dorian keeps jumping. He has terminal cancer and has less than 6 months to live and wants to die on his own terms. It's then Dan meets the colonel who was guiding them through Miami Beach, who turns out to be no other than Dan's now 30 years older daughter, Colonel Murray Forrester. Though it's not the happiest of reunions, as Dan finds out that in his future he wants to run out on both his wife and his daughter before his eventual death. After this unhappy reunion, Dan joins his daughter on a dangerous mission to capture a female Whitespike. They are bigger and deadlier than the males and attract all the males to her at once. It's here Muri informs her father that she's brought him back for a reason. One she will tell him when he needs to know. During the mission to capture the female, Muri finds herself in danger, and Dan, trying to become Dad of the Year, jumps into the female's pits to save his daughter's life. Before they quickly escape, she then proceeded to tell him how hard it was for her to see him die when she was only young. Back at their water base with their female Whitespike, Muri and Dan use the time to create a toxin that will kill the creature with one injection. This does allow for dad and daughter bonding, while Dan realises how he's more like his father than he ever realised. Just as they create a toxin that will kill off the creatures, thousands upon thousands of males swarm the base, all while Dan only has a short while till his tour of duty is up and he's pulled back to the present. It's now Muri tells her dad the reason she brought him here: to help create the toxin and to take it back, to kill the aliens before the war even happens, saving the world in the past but stopping the future from ever happening. As the aliens swarm the base, Dan is trying to buy enough time till he's pulled back to the present. But in the fight, Muri is mortally wounded, and as she's dragged to her death, a broken man, as well as Charlie and Dorian, who have both survived. The future has been destroyed. The time travel machine will no longer work. The future is over. Dan reunites with his family as a broken man, and the film ends with hope that they can use the toxin to save the world. Oh? Wait, you're telling me that isn't how it ends? There's still 40 minutes left. Okay. Dan and his wife realise the aliens reached Earth years before they actually attacked, and through science and Martin the Volcano Kid, they know where they are. Dan, not getting help from the government as the world is in crisis, finds both Charlie and Dorian, and with the help of his own father and those from the future who are stuck in our time, head to where the alien ship crashed years before. After finding the ship and not wanting to wait for help, they find their way inside, realising the aliens are a weapon of another alien race. As they start to inject the toxins into the Whitespikes, they start to wake up. Dan gets out of the ship to where both his father and Charlie have just left a female Whitespike escape, all while Dorian and the others go out in a blaze of glory, destroying the ship and all the aliens except for the one that got away. Dan and his father hunt down the last one before she lays an egg, and after nearly dying 278 times, they manage to kill the last female Whitespike, saving the world. As always, the government take the credit for saving the world as Dan's father meets his granddaughter, and this time, they all lived happily ever after. Overall, The Tomorrow War is an enjoyable action film mixed with brilliant visuals and a good bit of humour. As long as you switch off your mind, ignore the inconsistencies and many of the paradoxes, you will have an enjoyable time. Though at just over 2 hours, it's possible to be a bit on the long side. So, fellow movie lovers, have you enjoyed this recap? If so, why not consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button to catch our next recap? Is there any movies you'd like us to recap? Why not comment below, let us know, and you never know, it might just be the next movie we do a recap on. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.